Right now, it's about a month past Christmas season. Every year during that time, I look for a really good gift for myself. This year, I sort of killed two birds with one stone. I got my son an electric skateboard, but so that he wouldn't have to ride alone, I got one for myself as my Christmas gift. I've enjoyed riding the electric skateboard, but I sometimes wish I could modify it to provide a different riding experience. To see what I came up with, stay tuned. I really enjoy the idea of last mile devices and how they fill a niche area of transportation. They're perfect for those short trips that can be a little too far to walk. My most recent purchase was for an electric skateboard made by MEEPO. The power of the motor on these devices is amazing and the battery life is great. I currently don't use it as a commuting device though, because in Hawaii there are really strict laws for what can be ridden on the sidewalks and bike paths. On the other hand, electric scooters are prevalent on the sidewalks and bike paths, and I'm not positive, but I think they are legal to ride in a lot more places than skateboards are. In reviewing the City Ordinance 291C, it's hard to decipher, but they at least have a photo of the devices they consider to be what's known as EPAMD devices, or Electric Personal Assistive Mobility Devices. There are no electric skateboards, but there are electric scooters. To give myself more legal options for riding an electric device to work in the bike lane, I want to see if I can convert my electric skateboard into an electric scooter whenever I feel it's necessary, then back again when I want to ride the skateboard. In looking at my MEEPO, I have some ideas of how to do this, but I also see some hurdles. I guess there's only one way to find out if this will work. Let's get started. It was hard to design this on paper since I didn't have a detailed idea of what I wanted. So, I decided to go through my repository of PVC joints, and that helped a lot. The parts I have here should cover the complete conversion of my MEEPO into an electric scooter that can be converted back into an electric skateboard. This front section here is where I want to mount the handlebar for the scooter, but there are two obstacles I need to work around. The first is the small surface area on the deck where the handlebar will mount to the deck. I'll have to use as much of that space as possible to get the best performance out of the handlebar. The second is the concave of the deck. The handlebar must mount to a flat deck, so I'll have to use a shim of some sort to level the mounting area. The important thing to do is get the width of my handlebar correct before building it. I want it to be as wide as possible without having it stick out over the edge of the deck. Now that I've measured up my deck with the tees, I can cut the tees to the appropriate width. For the height of the handlebar, I based it on photos of people riding scooters. An average height of the bars seemed to be around a person's belt area, so I made mine about the same for me. Also, I'm not making the handlebar adjustable, but that could be in a future video. For now, it'll be built strictly for myself, and all the nice-to-haves will come later. The handlebar is pretty simple to build. I did all the double tees first. Remember that the topmost tees are doubled up different. You have to connect the long ends together rather than the short ends like the tees below it. This is so the handlebar can run through both of the topmost tees. Using my tool I created in a previous video, for which you can find a link to in the description, I'm going to drill out both of the tees at the top and slide a pipe through it to serve as the part of the handlebar to hold on to when riding. So that I don't mount this handlebar to my MEEPO only to find out it doesn't work like I thought it would, I'm going to test the strength of it first. I've mounted it to this piece of wood and I want to see how much twisting and torquing it can take. So I'm putting some weight on the piece of wood opposite to the side I'm leaning the handlebar. As long as the stem doesn't bend too much during testing, I'd consider the testing a success. And it does look good. When I started working on the handlebar, I thought I knew how I wanted to mount it to the deck. After testing and seeing how well just bolting the handlebar directly to a piece of wood worked, now I want to try that approach on my skateboard deck. These are the parts that were supposed to make up the handlebar mount, mounted similarly to how these plugs are positioned on the deck. The bolts would have gone through the plug and the deck, then a nut at the bottom side of the deck would have held the plug in place. To prep the plug before it's now permanently added to the handlebar, 2 wood strips are placed on either side of the bolt. These wood strips will prevent the bolt from turning with the nut. If you can get the wood strip to line up with a hole, re-drill the hole through the wood strip so the screw can hold it in place. In testing the bolt, it's now unable to turn, although it can still be pushed back into the plug with some effort, so be careful of that since the only fix would be to disassemble the plug assembly. With the bolts now part of the handlebar system, mounting it onto the deck only requires holes to be drilled. We'll do that next. I've marked the best place I thought for the mounting holes. To drill the hole as centered as possible where the center punch is, I start with a 1/16" drill bit and work my way up to the 1/2" bit. The handlebar is a perfect fit in the holes, but I'll keep it off until I can finish adding the accelerator to the grip of the handlebar. I did a test fitting of the remote on a scrap piece of PVC pipe so that I'll know the exact cuts to make on the actual handlebar to fit my specific remote. The cuts were made using the Dremel cutting discs I picked up for the PVC bed frame project a couple of months ago. I did have a problem with the cutting discs separating from the arbor mount, but to fix it I used this hex standoff in a size that fit the hole left in the disc from the missing arbor mount. With the remote in the handlebar, I now need to position the handlebar so that the remote can be operated comfortably with my thumb, then secure it in place with screws. I really enjoy riding the skateboard in its scooter configuration. It does feel a lot safer and stable with a handlebar. One thing that is a bit awkward when using a bamboo longboard as a scooter is the flex in the board. You can see what I mean here. For myself, I just ignore it. I don't think it affects my riding in any way. One thing that made this project easy to do was the braking system. Electric skateboards have the benefit of a remote control being both the accelerator and the brake. No cables, cantilever brakes, or brake pads to maintain. Just remember to always keep the remote charged. I have yet to use it to commute to work, but I'll probably do that once I modify the scooter so it can fold up. In the meantime, I do ride it in the bike lane, and it's nice to have something that can move a little faster than a Segway Mini Pro. I hope you found this video useful. That's all I have for now, and I'll catch you in the next video.